Some fights are remembered for what happened across 12 grueling rounds. Others are remembered because they never even needed that long. This story belongs to the second kind. A story that begins with two men walking toward each other under bright lights and ends less than 3 minutes later with one of them left staring up at a night that slipped away faster than he could have imagined. The setting was Arena VFG in Tlajumulco de Zúñiga, Jalisco, Mexico. A venue buzzing with energy for a card headlined by a rising Mexican superstar. Yet tucked into the co-main event slot was a collision that many insiders quietly believed might steal the show entirely. Two undefeated dreams were not both walking in, but two proven punchers certainly were. And when punchers like this share a ring, something almost always gives before the final bell ever has a chance to ring. Adrien Broner entered that night carrying the weight of expectation on his shoulders in a way most 21-year-olds never experience. Cincinnati, Ohio had already claimed him as their own rising star. The nickname The Problem followed him everywhere he went, and it was not born from empty bragging. It came from a growing highlight reel of opponents who found out the hard way just how quickly his hands could close distance and change the complexion of a fight. 21 wins, 0 losses, 17 knockouts already stacked behind his name before this night even began. Standing across from him was a man who understood danger just as intimately. Jason Litzau out of St. Paul, Minnesota had lived the full roller coaster of professional boxing already. Highs that flirted with world championship glory. Lows that reminded him just how unforgiving this sport can be. They called him the American boy, yet there was nothing boyish about the power sitting in either of his hands. 28 wins, 21 by knockout. A resume that demanded respect from anyone foolish enough to overlook him. This was the matchup built beneath the marquee name, yet carrying all the ingredients of an explosive short night. Two hungry finishers, one vacant title on the line, and a shared understanding between both camps that whoever blinked first inside that ring might not get a second chance to recover. Feel the tension building in the final minutes before the opening bell. The kind of silence that settles over a crowd right before something they will be talking about for years. Cornermen offering last words that will only matter for a few dozen seconds once the action starts. Broner shifting his weight from foot to foot near his corner, radiating the kind of confidence that either backs itself up spectacularly or gets punished for its arrogance. Litzau standing calm and focused across the canvas like a man who has stared down bigger stages and refuses to be rattled by one low. Then the bell sounds and every ounce of pre-fight tension detonates into motion. There is no cautious opening exchange here. No feeling out process where two boxers circle and measure distance for the first full round. Instead, there is immediate collision. Broner surges forward behind sharp combinations, testing not just distance but resolve. Litzau answers just as quickly, refusing to concede a single inch of ring real estate. Within seconds, it becomes obvious to everyone watching that this fight was never going to unfold slowly. Broner's speed becomes the dominant storyline almost instantly. Not simply quick hands, but a rhythm that seems to arrive a half beat before Litzau can fully react. He darts in, fires a combination, steps back out of range before real counter-fire can land cleanly. It is the kind of composed aggression that feels far beyond what most fighters possess this early in a career, still climbing toward true elite status. Litzau refuses to be a passive target though. He pushes forward behind heavy hooks, looking for the single connecting shot capable of changing everything in an instant. For a handful of tense seconds, the fight teeters on the edge of becoming a genuine slugfest. Two knockout punchers matching pace and refusing to yield ground. The crowd rises collectively, sensing that whatever happens next will happen fast and will happen hard. And then the turning point arrives. Broner threads a combination to Litzau's guard with surgical timing. The connection is clean, immediate, unmistakable in its effect. Litzau's legs waver for just a moment, yet in professional boxing that single moment often decides everything that follows. The crowd noise shifts instantly. That unmistakable roar that only erupts when everyone realizes at once that a fight might be ending far sooner than expected. Litzau tries to recover, tries to create space, tries to buy himself just enough time for his legs to fully return beneath him. It is the instinct of every fighter who has ever been hurt and knows survival now depends entirely on the next few seconds. But Broner does not offer him that time. He steps directly into the opening, pressing forward with focused, precise combinations designed to finish rather than simply follow up. Punch after punch lands cleanly. Litzau's defense begins crumbling under the sustained pressure. His return fire grows shorter, less committed. The unmistakable signs of a fighter surviving purely on will rather than genuine control of the exchange. The referee watches every second closely, fully aware of how quickly a competitive fight can turn genuinely dangerous. And in this sequence against the ropes with Broner unloading relentlessly, that line gets crossed. The stoppage arrives. 2 minutes and 58 seconds into round 1. The fight is over before most fans have even fully settled into their seats. A strange hush lingers beneath the roaring crowd noise. Litzau standing there absorbing the sudden reality of a night that unraveled far quicker than anyone anticipated. A man built on knockout power himself, now on the receiving end of exactly the kind of ending he had delivered to opponents throughout his own career. Across the ring, Broner raises his arms. That same brash confidence he carried in before the bell, now fully validated in the most emphatic way the sport allows. No scorecards required. No lingering debate about who deserved the win. Just total, unquestionable proof delivered in under 3 minutes. This was more than a victory added to a growing record. It was a career-defining statement. Before this night, Broner carried enormous promise, still waiting for validation on the larger stage. After this night, the entire boxing world understood exactly what kind of fighter had just arrived. Someone capable of taking a legitimate power-punching veteran and dismantling him with terrifying efficiency when the moment demanded it most. For Litzau, the outcome told a far different story. Boxing rarely offers second chances within the same fight, and on this night the margin between his own explosive power and Broner's speed and precision proved unforgiving. He believed in his ability just as fiercely walking into that ring. Sometimes in this sport both fighters are right about their own abilities, and it still comes down to who executes first under the brightest pressure. What elevates this fight beyond just another quick stoppage buried inside record books is everything it represented for the trajectory that followed. This was the performance that pushed Broner firmly into serious championship conversation. Wins delivered this decisively do not simply add a number. They completely reshape perception among promoters, networks, and fans alike. They announce a fighter ready for bigger names and bigger stages ahead. And that trajectory proved accurate in the years that followed. Multiple weight divisions conquered. Multiple world titles claimed. A career defined repeatedly by exactly the kind of explosive, confident performances first put on full display for a wider audience on this night against Litzau. Yet beyond the highlight reel finish, there remains something timeless about nights like this one. Boxing strips away every distraction until only two men remain under bright lights with nothing but preparation, instinct, and will separating victory from defeat. On this particular night, one man's timing proved sharper. One man's precision proved more decisive. And in less than 3 minutes, an entire card's most anticipated undercard collision reached its conclusion in unforgettable fashion. Watch the sequence again and notice details easy to miss during the first viewing. The subtle shift in footwork just before the fight-ending combination lands. The exact instant Litzau's balance disappears beneath him. The referee's brief, calculated pause before finally stepping between two fighters fully aware of everything riding on that decision. Every frame carries meaning. Every second tells its own piece of a much larger story about two careers colliding at a genuine crossroads. This is precisely why fights like this endure in memory long after other bouts from the same card fade into forgotten statistics. It was not built across 12 rounds of cautious strategic maneuvering. It was built entirely on explosive conviction from two men who refused to hold anything back once that bell sounded. And when two hungry finishers step into a ring carrying that mindset, the outcome often looks exactly like what unfolded here. Fast. Decisive. Absolutely unforgettable. Boxing history is filled with countless first-round finishes. Most eventually fade into footnotes buried deep within record books few outside hardcore fans ever revisit. but a select handful earn a different kind of lasting significance. They become reference points people return to when explaining why a fighter's eventual rise felt almost inevitable looking back, even if it did not feel that way beforehand. Adrien Broner vs. Jason Litzau belongs firmly among that select group. Not only because of the knockout itself, but because of everything that single knockout represented moving forward. A shift in expectations. A confirmation of raw talent. A powerful reminder that inside this sport the loudest statements are sometimes delivered in the shortest amount of time imaginable. For anyone revisiting this footage today, whether discovering it for the very first time or returning to relive it once again, the impact remains exactly the same. The tension building through those opening exchanges. The sudden shift the moment the crowd senses danger arriving. The explosive finishing sequence ending almost as quickly as it begins. And finally, that unforgettable image of one fighter's arms raised high in triumph, while the other absorbs the reality of a night that never went according to plan. This is boxing distilled down to its most primal essence. Two athletes. One outcome decided through violence swift enough to leave an entire arena gasping before most fans had even fully settled into their seats. A fight remembered not for its length but for its raw intensity. Not for complexity but for the brutal, unmistakable simplicity of one fighter proving in under 3 minutes exactly why the world would soon be forced to learn his name.